Guys, I have the perfect solution for any of you that love to work out, but you want to make recovery a priority within your fitness routine. Our new sponsor, Bellis Footwear, came to life when 3 footwear industry veterans set out to find a better footwear recovery solution for athletes of all levels. After 2 years of extensive research and testing, TriMotion Tech and FoMotion Formula were born. This technology and proprietary 3X density foam provides exactly what your feet need at each part of the foot strike motion, from supportive heel contact and great arch support through toe off to the next step. These guys are right down the street from Bad Guy Inc. Studios. You are going to love them. Bellis Footwear provides both stability and flexibility that work together for incredible recovery. So give the gift of recovery this holiday season. Head on over to VellisFootwear.com or just click on the link below. And by the way, save 30% this holiday season when you use the code Uncle Chael at checkout. Ariel Helwani asked me a very direct question, and he asked me, was Glover Teixeira screwed? Exact words that Ariel used. I said no. Ariel took issue with me saying no. And he was almost presenting it as though I was being a company man following along with the UFC. Now, I don't get accused of that very often, but I have heard those terms, and I don't like it. I think you could see why. But I don't like being accused that anybody influences the way that I speak. You could see where that would be annoying, particularly to somebody like me. Okay. But I want to break that down for just a second here. And my response to Ariel, I thought was very measured. I thought it was very logical. And what I had said to Ariel was, first I defended Glover. I said there was 3 guys. There was 3 guys for Glover to fight. The one that he said he would fight is the one that said he would fight him was Prochazka, and Glover was willing to go through with that. Same date, same guy, same rules, same everything. Glover never flinched. When that came off the board, between the other 2 guys, Glover was willing to fight one on the same date, same rules, same amount of time, same everything. Glover did not flinch. But it was the 3rd guy is who was being proposed to him. Now, Glover said yes to that guy as well, just not the same date. Agreed to the rules, agreed to everything. Now, I think 2 of the 3, I think that Glover was what we call reasonable. And generally, when you're reasonable, good things happen to you, particularly in this sport. So, but was he screwed? Well, time out. Glover was going to fight for a championship. Glover was going to be in a main event. Glover was going to have the media and some of the joys and a lot of the attention that comes from you guys, right? I mean, there's some built-in things that you can't put into a contract that are all a byproduct of said contract. I don't know that those things aren't still happening. I've got to offer that. And it's what I offered to Ariel. I don't know that Glover's next fight, which was supposed to be for a championship, I don't know that his next fight isn't for a championship. Glover was supposed to fight Prochazka in a rematch. I don't know that in Glover's next fight, it's not going to be against Prochazka in a rematch. I mean, I don't know how close we can get you back. Once we call something off, how close can we go out to reproduce it? If you keep a guy in a main event, you got part of it right. If you keep him number 1 contender and his next fight's for a belt, it seems like that's what he wants. That was what was promised. It was a rematch, and it was with Prochazka. So we're going to do everything that we can to satisfy what our agreement was to you. And then Prochazka, the poor guy, he's got this hurt shoulder. I don't know where Glover got screwed. I mean, that's very strong language. Disappointed in a change and a shuffle of the deck. I mean, right, it's one of these really hard spots. I had been this white knight one time in my career. It was called UFC 151. And Dan Henderson versus Jon Jones. And 8 days before bell time, Dan has to pull out of the fight. He might have also had a shoulder. I think it was his shoulder. Has to pull out of the fight. Jon Jones is left without an opponent. We got a building full of people. We got a camera crew coming in. We got an audience. What do? You find somebody to fight Jon Jones. Insert Chael Sonnen. Jon Jones then says no. No. He's a southpaw. This isn't short notice. He's known. He and Dan are friends, and he is known. It's short notice for me. It's not for him. The fight doesn't go on. And guess who took the blame for that? Jon Jones. Is that fair? I don't want to put it on Dan. I would always defend Dan. This is my friend and my teammate. If you're to look at that equation of who changed the deal for what it was going to be, it was Dan. It was outside of his control, and it was an injury. But Dan never took a bump. He never took a question. He never took anything. Jon took the weight for it all. Now, I'm going to be Jon's opponent, so I don't come out and defend him at this time. This was very big at the time. This might sound small to you. That at the time, this was a really big deal, and Jon was the skunk at the garden party. Jon is the one that ruined everything. If you looked at that a little bit more objective, Jon had agreed to something of which Jon continued to agree with. Jon said he was going to go through with something of which Jon was willing to go through with. Jon never flinched. Jon never changed anything. It got changed on Jon. And it's just not generally how we look at a situation. So in a case like this, did Glover get screwed? Okay, if you're on the side that yes, he did, who screwed him? And before you answer that question, there's 3 people that it takes to make a fight. Glover was willing to go through with it. The third entity that you need never flinched, never changed anything. They were going through with it. And then you have Prochazka, who is the one who changed it. Now, of course, we wouldn't blame Prochazka. He's hurt. He's injured. He also took a bump here. But in our attempt to be nice and to be gracious and to have a good heart towards an injured athlete, we also still have that same energy of something went wrong and we have to place it. We can't put it on Glover. We don't want to put it on the hurt guy. We choose the third entity. But it does matter if you trace anything back in life, right? The timeline matters, and where the genesis, where the whole thing germinated, and what was the genesis, that's the most important thing. Where did this all come from? Where does Glover losing his main event, his placement on the card, his world title opportunity, and his rematch against Prochazka? It wasn't the third entity, and it wasn't Glover. And we don't want to finish the thought. We don't want to say that it was the hurt guy who just got you. We don't want to do that. So we find somewhere else to blame it. I mean, I just got to stand by it. That's what I'm here to tell you. No, I don't think that Glover was screwed. And I can't even go as far as to say that Glover's not in the same position that he was. Now, I don't know that I'm predicting that for you. I don't know that Glover's going to be the number 1 contender. I don't know that Glover is taking on the winner of this fight. I think that 205 pounds has a massive problem. We just haven't identified what the problem is. Is the problem Jan Blachowicz? Is the problem Ankalaev? We don't know yet. But if you wake up on Monday morning after this contest and Ankalaev's the champion of the world and you sit back and go, what in the hell am I going to do with this? It's a fair question. If you got to wake up on Monday morning and say, Blachowicz, we already went down this road and now we're back at it. What the hell am I going to do with this? It's a fair question. It's not those guys' fault. Those guys are doing their job. Those guys are skilled and they're awesome. For sure. The interest for what they're going to do next and who they're going to do it against is a pile of interchangeable mediocrities. What difference does it? This is the guy for all of these arguments. Stop. Don't even make the argument. Just put him in. Well, no, I got this other guy with then put him in. It's interchangeable and it doesn't make any bit of difference. And that's on you guys. 100% that's on you guys. And maybe they didn't go first and they didn't do their part in making you interested. Either way, that's on you. You're not interested. So if I was to predict what's going to happen, I know that I got a steaming pile over here, but I'm up against the clock and I'm going with the steaming pile and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it bad. This is going to, I don't know how bad it's going to be, but it's for sure going into the red. I'll do it. But that's not sustainable, and I know it's not sustainable. So I'll do it, but I won't do it twice, which means I have a plan for what's next. I think Alex Pierre is the plan. One guy talking. One guy talking with very limited information, perhaps no information. But I know one of the problems that Glover had, I mean this extremely respectfully, one of the big problems that Glover had was steaming up an interest, and an interest comes through the form of a demand. He never made it. He never demanded that rematch. He never demanded Prohaska. He never demanded that he fight for a world championship. He never demanded anything. And his way of being polite served that. He is coming across as very polite. Not making a demand is going to keep you in the same spot of the interchangeable mediocrities. I mean, I'm just sharing with you. He didn't make a demand that he gets the winner of this fight. He didn't get a demand that he remain number one contender. He didn't make a demand that when Prohaska come back, when and if that ever is, I get my rematch. He did not make a demand on anything. And at this point, I don't know what he wants to do. Does he want to fight for a world championship, or did he want to get the rematch? What one was more important to him? I have to know that. I have to know if I'm going to care that you care. And if I'm going to care the most, I got to know what you care about the most. I still don't know. I don't know. I would assume it's a championship. I would assume that. But I also know if you're beating a guy and there was only 30 ticks left on the clock and you could get that one back, be a big driver too. There's been no demands made. There's been no suggestions made. There's been no requests made. I can't just put this on Glover. The only one with an understanding to do this in the entire division is a poor guy that's injured named Anthony Smith, who's just not in a spot to start going out and raising Cain anywhere until he gets back to sparring at 100%. I mean, I just share it with you. As I look at 205 pounds, I look at this division. I look at, I guess we're calling it a main event. I don't know. I mean, it's the fight that goes on last. I mean, it should quite literally be renamed that when UFC 282 rolls around. Bruce Buffer should not come out and say, and now the time you've all been waiting for, the main event of the evening. He should come out and say, guys, it's 9:28 p.m. and this is the last fight of the night. I mean, it's one of those positions. I mean, you think this is a problem, that this is your main event, which you've done everything you can to not have it. You think that's a problem? Try waking up the next day, and one of those two guys is going to return to your main event. Whenever and wherever that is, I've got 100% problem, and tomorrow when I wake up, I'm going to have 50%. That's a lot of problem. How am I going to change it? How am I going to fix it? I expect history to repeat itself, which is the boys will regulate themselves. This will start to sort itself out. Somebody will take to the media, and somebody will raise their claim, and somebody else will see that claim, and now I'll have two guys that I get to choose from instead of one. And if a third or a fourth jumps in the mix, now I got 3 or 4 guys that get to battle this out. The way the sport's done, but at this point, nobody's made the demand, and nobody's made the claim. I think Alex Pierre is going up 205 pounds. I think the winner of Blachowicz versus Ankalaev is going to fight Alex. If I'm right, I just gave you the first reason anyone's ever given you for watching Blachowicz versus Ankalaev.